My brother let his wife force my niece to bleed through white shorts at a pool party to learn humility. When I confronted them, she smirked and said, when Asha comes back, Red Week starts over. This time, we'll make sure she learns respect. I just walked away. That was 3 months ago. This morning, she locked herself in the bathroom and cried so quietly I almost missed it. At 2 in the morning, I got a call from my niece Asha screaming, I'm never going back to my dad ever again. Please take me. She kept saying this over and over without me being able to get a word in. We had talked about this before since Asha had been living with her dad and new stepmother Anya just for the summer. She's 16 and has always been fairly level-headed, so this just made me super upset. After trying to calm her down for like 10 minutes, she finally told me what was really going on. She told me she was alone at a gas station near their house. The 5-hour drive gave me time to think. When I picked her up, she was still in her pajamas and holding a plastic bag with what looked like torn up photos inside. For a while, it was completely silent, with nothing but my white girl music playlist playing in the background. And after an hour when she finally spoke, my blood went cold. So you know how Anya is always talking about family traditions? She asked, voice shaking. I nodded because Anya never shut up about how the Devi family did things. Well, apparently they have this thing called Red Week. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. I knew exactly what Red Week was because I'd married into the Devi family 20 years ago before divorcing out of it. Asha continued. Anya got her period and told me it was time to participate in the family tradition. You see in their culture, when you're on your period, you don't get access to any feminine products unless you complete a list of household tasks. The list could be anything from reorganizing the garage to scrubbing the baseboards with a toothbrush. I told her I needed pads and she laughed at me, Asha said. She said every Devi woman has done Red Week and it teaches humility and strength. But that wasn't even the worst part because that's when Asha told me about the pool party. Anya had invited the entire extended family over for their annual summer gathering. Asha had been trying desperately to finish her task list, but there was no way anyone could complete it in time. When she asked again for products, Anya told her she hadn't earned them yet. I bled through my white shorts in front of everyone, Asha whispered. Cousins, aunts, uncles, even Dad's boss was there. Anya had made her stay at the party for 3 more hours. Asha described standing by the pool trying to hide the stain while relatives pretended not to notice. Some of the older women gave her sympathetic looks, but no one said anything. When Asha finally begged to go inside and change, Anya had announced to everyone that every woman in this family has gone through Red Week and it builds character. Asha needs to learn humility like all the women before her. That's when Asha had snapped. She ran to her room and destroyed every family photo she could find before climbing out her window and running to the gas station to call me. As soon as we got home, I told Asha to go inside and rest. And the second I tucked her into bed, I got back in my car and drove straight to my brother's house. I didn't give any warning, didn't even knock, just walked straight in and found them having breakfast like nothing had happened. Sarah, my brother Tom looked surprised. What are you doing here? Are we really still torturing our daughters in the name of tradition? I kept my voice steady, but my hands were trembling. Anya stood up and crossed her arms. Asha is being dramatic. Every woman in this family, shut the F up, I cut her off. I went through Red Week 20 years ago. So did cousin Talika. So did Tom's first wife. You want to know why she really left you, Tom? Tom's face went red. It made you strong, didn't it? Asha's just too soft, not like the rest of us. I pulled out my phone and showed them the group chat I'd started at 3 a.m. 12 women from the Devi family had already responded with their own Red Week horror stories. Talika had screenshots from her therapy sessions. Tom's first wife had written a detailed account. My own story was there too about bleeding through my dress at a wedding when I was 19. I'm sending this to every single person in this family, I said. Then I'm calling CPS, and then I'm calling my lawyer about custody modification. Anya's face went white, then red, then purple. She lunged at me with her manicured nails aimed at my face. Tom grabbed her shoulders and pulled her back before she could make contact. The kitchen erupted into chaos as Anya thrashed against his grip, screaming about ungrateful family members destroying sacred traditions. I stepped back and started recording on my phone. Tom struggled to hold Anya as she twisted and kicked, knocking over the fruit bowl on the counter. Oranges rolled across the floor while she continued her tirade about how Red Week had made the Devi women strong for generations. Tom finally managed to pin her arms to her sides. His face was flushed with effort and embarrassment as he tried to calm his wife down. He kept glancing between us, clearly torn between supporting Anya and acknowledging what I'd shown him on my phone. Anya broke free from his grip and grabbed her own phone from the counter. Her fingers flew across the screen as she dialed a number. Within seconds, she had it on speaker, and a cold, authoritative voice filled the kitchen. Anya, why are you calling so early? The voice belonged to Devi, Tom's mother and the family matriarch. Mom, Sarah is here trying to destroy our traditions. She took Asha last night and now she's threatening us with lawyers and CPS. Anya's voice cracked with desperation. There was a long pause before Devi responded. Bring the girl back immediately. She hasn't completed Red Week. No Devi woman abandons her duties. I held my phone higher, making sure I captured every word. This was exactly the evidence I needed to show that the abuse wasn't just coming from Anya. It was systemic, enforced by the entire family hierarchy. Tom shifted uncomfortably and cleared his throat. Mom, maybe we should reconsider this whole thing. I mean, if it's causing this much trouble. Weak men destroy traditions. Devi's voice cut through his words like ice. Your father would be ashamed to hear you speak this way. The girl returns today, or there will be consequences. Anya smirked at me, emboldened by her mother-in-law's support. You hear that? When Asha comes back, Red Week starts over from the beginning, and this time, we'll make sure she learns proper respect. I tucked my phone into my pocket, still recording, and pulled out my second phone. My fingers moved quickly as I texted my lawyer the emergency custody filing request I'd prepared during the drive. Within minutes, I received confirmation that the paperwork was being processed. While I handled the legal matters, my other phone buzzed constantly with notifications from the group chat. More women were joining and sharing their stories. Each account was worse than the last. Hospitalizations from infections, permanent scarring from untreated wounds, psychological trauma that lasted decades. Tom moved closer to read the messages over my shoulder. His face grew paler with each story. Then he stopped breathing entirely when he saw his first wife's name appear with a detailed account. She described how during her Red Week, she'd been pregnant. The stress and lack of proper hygiene had caused complications. She'd begged for help for basic sanitary products, but Devi and the other women had insisted she finish her tasks first. By the time they finally relented, it was too late. She lost the baby because you wouldn't let her have basic hygiene during a medical emergency, I said quietly, watching Tom's face crumble. His hands shook as he sank into a kitchen chair. Anya immediately moved to his side, but her comforting gestures seemed hollow after what we'd just learned. Anya's panic was evident as she grabbed Tom's phone from the table. She dialed Asha's number frantically, pacing the kitchen as it rang. When Asha answered, Anya didn't even let her speak. If you don't come back right now, you're out of the will. Your grandmother will make sure you get nothing. You'll lose your college fund, your trust fund, everything. But the line went dead. I'd already explained to Asha about blocking numbers and setting boundaries. She was learning fast that family manipulation only only worked if you let them have access to you. The extended family group text exploded with activity. Devi had sent out a rallying cry about Western influence corrupting their values and destroying their heritage. The responses split along generational lines almost immediately. The older aunts and uncles echoed Devi's sentiments, lamenting how modern girls had no respect for tradition. But then something unexpected happened. The younger generation started pushing back. "Actually, Grandma, we need to talk about Red Week too," typed one of Tom's cousins. "I've been dreading my daughter turning 13 because of this." More young parents chimed in with their concerns. Then Priya, Devi's own granddaughter, dropped a bombshell. She'd been secretly documenting the Red Week preparations for her younger sister, including video evidence. The videos showed Devi teaching Anya and other women how to properly break the girls. The instructions were specific and cruel: optimal timing for public humiliation, how to make tasks impossible to complete, psychological tactics to ensure compliance. One video showed Devi explaining the pool party strategy. "The timing is crucial. Maximum witnesses mean maximum shame. They'll never forget the lesson." Tom watched the videos with growing horror. This wasn't just tradition. It was calculated cruelty passed down through generations and refined into a system of abuse. My lawyer called with an update. The emergency custody hearing was scheduled for the next morning, but there was a complication. The judge assigned to the case was Rajan Devi, the matriarch's own brother who had recently retired from family court. Well, nothing says family values quite like turning basic hygiene into a twisted game show where the prize is not bleeding through your clothes at Uncle Bob's pool party. Anya really put the mental in fundamental traditions here. Anya started making calls to extended family members, spinning the story her way. According to her version, "I had kidnapped Asha during an important cultural education moment. I was trying to westernize the girl and turn her against her heritage. My phone rang constantly with calls from various family members. Some offered support, sharing their own suppressed memories of Red Week. Others were hostile, accusing me of trying to destroy centuries of tradition." Back at my house, Asha was struggling with the revelations. She sat at my kitchen table, going through the group chat messages with tears streaming down her face. "Did Dad know?" she asked when I returned. "Did he plan the pool party timing? Was it all orchestrated?" I showed her the text messages Tom had sent me during my own Red Week 20 years ago. "Mom says you need to learn. Stop being dramatic. It's just a few days." The words were dismissive, lacking any empathy for what I was going through. The group chat continued to grow. 30 women across 3 generations had joined, and patterns were emerging. The tradition had become progressively crueler over the decades. What might have started as a coming-of-age ritual had morphed into systematic abuse. The doorbell rang, and through the window, I could see 3 cars parked outside. Devi had arrived with a small army of family members for support. Tom and Anya were with them, along with various aunts, uncles, and cousins. I grabbed my phone, ensuring it was still recording, and prepared to face them. This was just the beginning of what I knew would be a long battle. But looking at Asha's face, still streaked with tears but set with determination, I knew we had to fight. The Devi family's reign of terror disguised as tradition was about to face its first real challenge, and I was ready to burn it all down if that's what it took to protect my niece and all the other girls who would come after her. Devi commanded everyone into the living room with the authority of someone who'd never been questioned. I watched as family members filed in, some avoiding eye contact with me while others glared openly. The room divided itself naturally, older women clustering around Devi, younger ones hovering uncertainly near the doorway. My phone continued recording from my pocket as Devi positioned herself in the center like a general addressing troops. She surveyed the room, her eyes lingering on each face before settling on mine with cold calculation. The matriarch began her speech about family values and the importance of maintaining traditions. She spoke of strength through suffering, of character built through hardship. Her voice carried the practiced cadence of someone who'd given this lecture many times before. I noticed several younger women shifting uncomfortably as Devi described Red Week as a blessing, a rite of passage that separated weak Western-influenced girls from true Devi women. My ex-sister-in-law Maya stood near the back, her hand pressed against her lower abdomen in an unconscious gesture I recognized too well. Devi produced a photo album, flipping through pages of successful family women, doctors, lawyers, business owners. She pointed to each one, emphasizing how Red Week had shaped them into leaders. The presentation felt rehearsed, designed to shame anyone who dared question the tradition. Maya suddenly limped forward, interrupting Devi mid-sentence. She explained how the infections she'd suffered during her Red Week had led to endometriosis, how she'd undergone 3 surgeries and still lived with chronic pain. Her voice shook but grew stronger as she spoke. Devi dismissed Maya's medical issues as genetic weakness, insisting that strong women birthed strong children, and that those who suffered complications simply weren't meant to carry on the family line. The cruelty of her words made several people gasp. Tom finally found his voice, suggesting that perhaps they should reconsider if the tradition had caused genuine harm to his first wife. The sound of Devi's palm connecting with his cheek echoed through the room. She announced that men who questioned traditions raised daughters who shamed families. I noticed Anya had her phone out, recording everything from an angle that would capture only certain reactions. She was clearly planning to edit the footage to support their narrative. I shifted slightly to ensure my own recording captured the full scene. Teenage cousin Lila suddenly stood up, her voice trembling as she admitted she was supposed to start Red Week next month and was terrified. Devi immediately assigned her 3 mentors, women known to be the harshest enforcers of the tradition. I quickly texted Lila's parents links to medical articles about toxic shock syndrome and infection risks. They read the information on their phones, their faces growing increasingly concerned. The father started to speak but was silenced by a sharp look from Devi. A nephew who worked as a family doctor tried to explain the medical dangers of denying young women proper hygiene products. Devi cut him off, declaring that Western medicine had corrupted his thinking and that their ancestors had survived without such coddling. The meeting devolved into chaos as family members began arguing. Some defended the tradition vehemently, while others tentatively voiced concerns. I documented everything while keeping my recording device protected, knowing this evidence would be crucial. Devi raised her voice above the din, making a declaration that would fracture the family forever. Any woman who refused Red Week or supported those who did would be cut off completely. No inheritance, no family support, no recognition as a Devi. 7 women immediately stood and walked out with me. Others clearly wanted to follow but remained frozen, calculating the cost of defiance. I saw tears in many eyes as they weighed their principles against their financial security. The next morning arrived too quickly. I sat in the courthouse waiting room with my lawyer, reviewing our evidence. Asha remained at home with a trusted friend, too anxious to face her father and Anya in person. Judge Rajan Devi entered the courtroom with an air of predetermined authority. My lawyer immediately filed a motion for recusal based on his family connection, but Rajan dismissed it as cultural discrimination against immigrant families maintaining their heritage. We presented medical records from 12 women showing documented injuries and trauma from Red Week. Each file contained hospital reports, therapy notes, and long-term health complications directly linked to the practice. Anya took the stand, portraying Red Week as a voluntary cultural practice that built character. She painted me as a bitter divorcee trying to poison Asha against her heritage. I watched her performance, knowing I had the recordings to contradict every lie. My lawyer played the audio from the kitchen confrontation, including Debbie's threats and demands for Asha's return. The courtroom heard Anya's promise that Red Week would start over with increased severity. Several people in the gallery shifted uncomfortably. Asha testified via closed circuit from another room, describing the pool party humiliation in detail. She explained the impossible task lists, the public shaming, the physical discomfort she'd endured. Her voice broke several times, but she continued. Judge Rajan dismissed Asha's testimony as teenage dramatics and attention-seeking behavior. He ordered her returned to her father immediately, stating that parents had the right to raise children according to their cultural values. My lawyer filed an immediate appeal and a judicial complaint about Rajan's obvious bias. As we left the courthouse, a local reporter approached us. She'd been investigating the Devi family businesses and had uncovered disturbing patterns. The reporter revealed that Devi companies exclusively promoted women who'd completed Red Week. Multiple discrimination lawsuits were brewing from employees who'd been passed over after refusing to subject their daughters to the tradition. That evening, the story broke across local news outlets with the headline questioning whether cultural traditions should override child safety. The piece went viral within hours, sparking heated debates across social media platforms. The hashtag Red Week began trending as hundreds of women from various communities shared their own experiences with similar traditions. The stories revealed a widespread pattern of abuse disguised as cultural preservation. Tom called me in a panic, explaining that Debbie was threatening to disinherit anyone who'd spoken to me or participated in the group chat. His voice shook as he described the financial control she wielded over the entire family. I laughed at his concern about money when children's well-being was at stake. Within hours, crowdfunding pages appeared to support our legal battle, with donations pouring in from Red Week survivors worldwide. Asha refused to comply with the court order to return home. My lawyer filed an emergency appeal with the state Supreme Court while we prepared for the larger battle ahead. The stakes had never been higher. Debbie held a press conference on the courthouse steps, portraying herself as a defender of traditional values under attack by Western feminism. She accused me of orchestrating a campaign to destroy immigrant families and their customs. Political groups rallied behind Debbie, launching a Preserve Traditional Families campaign. The movement gained traction among conservative communities who saw this as another battle in the culture wars. A counter-movement emerged organically as Red Week survivors from multiple cultures united. They shared similar traditions from their own backgrounds, revealing how widespread these harmful practices were across different communities. The death threats started arriving that night. Messages calling me a traitor to my culture, promising retribution for destroying sacred traditions. How does Judge Rajan keep his job while being related to Debbie? The way he threw out all those medical records makes me wonder if there's a whole network of family members in powerful positions protecting this tradition. The FBI became involved when threats crossed state lines and included specific violence. Lila appeared at my door the next evening with two younger cousins. They'd run away before their Red Week could begin, terrified by what they'd witnessed and heard. I welcomed them in while contacting their parents. Tom arrived hours later demanding Asha's return. He accused me of destroying his family, of turning his daughter against him. His face was haggard, torn between protecting his child and maintaining his position in the family hierarchy. When Tom broke down and admitted he knew the tradition was wrong but couldn't risk his mother's financial retaliation, I realized the depth of Debbie's control. She'd built an empire that enslaved her family through economic dependence. My lawyer subpoenaed the Debbie company records, revealing systematic discrimination against women who refused Red Week. The pattern was clear. Compliance with abuse was required for advancement within the family businesses. 3 executives came forward with their own stories of being denied promotions after refusing to subject their daughters to Red Week. Their testimonies revealed a corporate culture that perpetuated generational trauma. At a rally supporting Debbie, Anya was caught on a hot microphone saying that young girls needed to bleed and suffer as previous generations had. The audio went viral within hours, causing sponsors to pull support from Debbie companies. The family business stock prices plummeted as the scandal expanded. Investors fled from companies revealed to have discrimination and abuse built into their corporate culture. Debbie blamed me for orchestrating economic terrorism. The state Supreme Court agreed to hear our case, recognizing the broader implications for child welfare versus cultural traditions. Legal experts weighed in on the precedent this case could set for protecting children from harmful practices. Medical professionals testified about the physical and psychological damage caused by Red Week practices. They presented evidence of infections, chronic conditions, and lasting trauma directly linked to the tradition. An anthropologist explained how the tradition had evolved over generations, from a practical rest period for menstruating women into a punitive system designed to humiliate and control. The corruption of the original intent was stark. The most shocking testimony came from Debbie's own mother, now 95 and in a wheelchair. She revealed that the original tradition had been about giving women special care during their periods, not punishment. She described watching in horror as her daughter transformed a nurturing practice into a tool of cruelty. For 40 years, she'd remained silent out of fear, but she couldn't let more girls suffer. Her testimony devastated Debbie's defense. Debbie screamed at her mother in open court, calling her senile and accusing her of betraying the family. The mask of composed tradition keeper finally slipped, revealing the angry, controlling woman beneath. The judge ordered Debbie removed from the courtroom as she cursed every woman who testified. Contempt charges were added to the growing list of legal troubles facing the family matriarch. The empire she'd built on suffering was crumbling. Tom shocked everyone by switching sides, bringing financial records that showed how Debbie had coerced family members through inheritance threats. His testimony revealed a complex web of financial manipulation spanning decades. Anya filed for divorce the next morning, arriving at Tom's workplace with papers and a moving truck. She cleared out their joint bank accounts and took everything she considered hers, including family heirlooms that had been promised to Asha. Tom signed the papers without protest, his shoulders sagging with what looked like relief mixed with exhaustion. Months later, I watched Asha at her new school, laughing with friends who knew nothing about Red Week or pool parties or bleeding through white shorts. She'd found her voice, not just in speaking out against the tradition, but in choosing her own path forward. The group chat I'd started had grown into something bigger, a support network for women escaping similar traditions. We couldn't save everyone, but we could be there for those brave enough to run to gas stations at 2 a.m., desperate for help. Sometimes Asha still wakes from nightmares about that pool party, but she also dreams about her future. Medical school, helping other girls, breaking cycles. The Debbie family's Red Week tradition had terrorized generations of women. It ended with us, and that was enough. Thanks for hanging out with me while we explored all these wild questions today. Seriously, such a fun ride. Can't wait to dive into more next time. If you made it to the end, drop a comment. I love reading all your comments.